Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Navis Nobilite. And today I'm torturing myself because somebody in the Discord server, you know who you are, and I am coming for you. It will happen. I will hunt you down for this. Suggested that I do the vessels of the Badab War and the Badab War Battlefleet Gothic rules. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear to all of you. I hate these rules. I hate the ships in it. There's maybe a few examples of things that could potentially work, but the gross misunderstanding of the Forge World people in understanding how to make Battlefleet Gothic rules at this time is so abundantly painful that these ships aren't even in the Battlefleet Gothic remastered rules because everybody despises them. So I want you all to be functionally clear. I'm reading this and I'm going to explain why these are bad. Some of it is like simple things like a complete misunderstanding of how much something should cost in regards to points, and other things are going to be like it's just conceptually awful. Now there are a couple of gems in here. I won't lie. Every time they make something, there's always like one or two things that are actually pretty damn cool. But overall, these are awful. You should be ashamed of yourself, GW, for making them, and the guy who made me go over these, you should be ashamed of yourself too. You're shameful displacer. Now, I'm going to first talk about this little rule box here. The following entries detail several new ships for use in Battlefleet Gothic connected to the Badab War. The Space. That's terrible. The Space Marine Vanguard Cruiser and the Imperial High Conveyor. Both are new in general unit types, while the others listed are unique ships who had an important role to play in the war. In your games of Battlefleet Gothic, no more than a single example of these ships should be used in a fleet, with the exception of the High Conveyor. All the normal special rules associated with Space Marine warships in Battlefleet Gothic are mounted. So effectively, you can use the Vanguard Cruiser as in a Space Marine fleet, and you can use the Imperial High Conveyor. Generally, we'll get to the rules on them, but all of the named unique ships you can only have one example of, which is pretty standard throughout all of BFG. If it's a named ship, you only get one. Now, okay, we're going to go on to the ships, and we're going to go to the Space Marine Vanguard Cruiser at 130 points. Now, this should be the first thing that make your eyes bulge out. At 130 points, that is 15 points less expensive than a standard strike cruiser. Now, what do you get? Well, your stats are effectively the same, except for one. 6-hit cruiser, 25 centimeter speed, 90-degree turn, a single shield, 6-up armor, and 3 turrets. So you're getting an additional turret over the standard Space Marine strike cruiser. So that should probably open your eyes and go, oh, that's a bit of an improvement. Okay, weapons. You have port and starboard weapons batteries at 30 centimeters at firepower 5, so you have better broadside capacity. And left and right, you have a prow launch bay of a single Thunderhawk instead of 2, and you have prow torpedoes of strength 4, and you get improved thrusters, which allows the ship to move 5d6 centimeters on all head full orders. So it has certain elements from the Grey Knight Strike Cruiser, namely the improved thrusters, and it has kind of a middle ground position for some of the upgrades of a standard strike cruiser, but it doesn't have bombardment cannons. Now, here's why this ship is awful, namely the points value. This ship should be about 160 points. Because it has launch bays and torpedoes, those are going to actually be elevating the cost of this vessel a significant amount. Yes, it doesn't have bombardment cannons, but quite frankly, it doesn't need them. It is a well-defended, very fast-moving strike cruiser that can reload its Thunderhawks and its torpedoes off of the same roll. This is why things like the Devastation and the Dictator are more expensive than its corresponding vessels. It's the nature of carrier craft in Battlefleet Gothic. This vessel is undercosted, dramatically so. It should probably be like 150 through 160 points for what you get for it. Yeah, you don't have all the upgrades that you can get from a normal strike cruiser, but it is effective. It's too good for the points that it has been provided at. Yeah, it only can have one shield, but that's really not a demerit if you're really that fast. And these things are fast at 5d6 all ahead full special orders. So if this thing were more expensive, then it would be more appropriate. Moving on to the Imperial High Conveyor. Now, this is actually not a bad idea. This is a Battleship 12, 15 centimeter speed, 45-degree turn, 2 shielded, armor 4 plus, 3 turrets. Its weapons are port and starboard and prow weapons battery at strength 4 at 15 centimeters, left, front, right. So no surprise there. But it also has a 30 centimeter front, left, right arc firing lance, which is pretty unusual for a transport. Now, it has the following special rules. It cannot do come to new heading or all ahead full. It's just too big and chunky. And all critical results against them are reduced by -1. So it's actually less likely for this thing to suffer really nasty critical hits. It's just, I guess when when you do a hit and run attack, you're basically like, what am I going to blow up? Cargo pods? This is not very impressive. And it has Imperial Provender. Okay, whatever that means. A high conveyor may be used in any scenario where transports can be used, with a single high conveyor counted as 2 normal transports for the provision of any special rules. So that's pretty cool. You can basically have the giant battleship-sized transport for the value of 2 transports, which is a little bit wonky because typically transports don't have up to 12 hits. But not to mention 2 shields. This is basically a battleship quality transport. It's cool. It's a giant freaking target, but it's pretty cool. This is not it's not bad. I've never used one, and I don't really necessarily know how well it would work in the sense of a transport requiring mission. But it does have pretty good firepower for a transport vessel. Moving on, these are all of the character ships, okay? So first we have the Night Hag. At 275 points, it is a unique vessel. It is an 8-hit cruiser with 25 centimeter speed, 45-degree turns, 3 shields, 6 up armor, and 3 turrets. Now, anybody who is looking at this will have to sit here, stop, and consider what the hell they're looking at. A 6-up armor vessel with 8 hits, and 3 shields. This is probably one of the hardest ships to kill in the game. It is nuts. You'll need all of the lances all of the time to take this out. Now, it's 275 points, which puts it marginally in line with a Styx. So pretty close. They're at, I think, 260. So it's a little more expensive. But what do you get for it? 35 centimeters? 40 centimeters? What the hell is this crap? So this is where this ship makes me want to have an aneurysm, because it violates the standard range convention of this game. It's 30, 45, 60. This 35 centimeter crap is extraordinarily stupid, but we'll deal with it. You have strength 6 left, strength 6 right. You have a prow launch bay with 2 squadrons of Thunderhawks. You have 3 dorsal lances front, left, right, and a macro cannonade at 20 centimeters for some dumb reason at 6 to the front. Now, what is the macro cannonade? The Night Hag's under prow weapons hurl massive short-range fusion charges shells at the enemy, saturate the air in atomic blast. This resolved. I think it means this is resolved. Good job, guys. As a separate battery attack from the 6 to the firepower, the player may. So you do have to, unfortunately, suffer from dealing with drops in effectiveness if you fire at it. But then again, none of your batteries are overlapping, so it's not a really big deal. The player may re-roll a failed attempts to equal or beat the chosen target's armor, so you effectively can re-roll to hit. They're always counted as locked on, which is interesting. It's a way to put it. Darkling engines. The strange and arcane design of the Night Hag's drive system create an inherent energy disruptive effect that is the ability to confuse enemy targeting scanners. Every hit scored against a ship by direct weapons, i.e., other than weapons used templates such as Nova Cannon, moving blast marker, set and run, and critical damage, roll a d6 on a 6 that damage is ignored. So it's not only has this amazing stat block that makes it incredibly hard to hit and damage with direct weapons, it gets a 6-up invul save. everything about this ship I hate, namely these weird ranges. There's not a lot wrong with the macro cannonade. It's just a battery that is always locked on. It's a short-range weapon. It's not that big of a deal, and it's only strength 6. The Darkling engines are stupid. This vessel should be far more expensive. This should be probably closer to 310 points, just given how hard it is to kill. This is effectively a super duper strike cruiser. It's, when people think about what a strike cruiser of a cruiser level as opposed to a light cruiser level, this is basically what people imagine. And when you take an inquisitorial cruiser and give it meth, and then probably acid, and then probably dump it in the warp for a few hundred years, it is a poorly designed vessel, simply on the basis of its weird ranges and violations of the convention of the game. Okay, the Nicor. Now, we're back to normal frickin' convention. Let's have a look at this. We're sitting at 305 points. It is a 10-hit Grand Cruiser with 25 centimeter speed, so it is a fast Grand Cruiser. This guy is booking. 45-degree turns, 5 shields. 5 shields on a Grand Cruiser. Armor 6-up, so it is a 6-up, 5-shield Grand Cruiser with 3 turrets. It has port and starboard strength 7 weapons batteries at 45 centimeters, which is okay. It has launch capacity 2 for Thunderhawks. Not bad. It has a proud torpedo salvo, and it has the plasma destructor. Now, I will say this. Look at this, guys. Proper range convention. All right, this already is better than the frickin' Night Hag. Okay, plasma destructor. The Nicor's plasma destructor at worst, I think it must be worst. God, these people are terrible. Always sits on a 5 or more, even if its target's armor is greater than this. So it basically is a weaker lance. It always affects critical hits on a 5 or more rather than just a 6. So I figure it's meant to be treated as a battery. It doesn't really say, and that's a big problem. Is this a weapons? If this is a weapons battery, I can assume at strength 10 it's meant to be used as a weapons battery, so you use the gunnery table. It just doesn't say so, but it always hits on a 5, and it always causes a crit on a 5. So hits on 5, crits on a 5. It's basically a worse bombardment cannon. Okay. Teleport assault. The ancient Icor is fitted with mass banks of teleporter arrays that can be used supporting enemy ships and making Space Marine landings. As a result, as well as the usual bonuses gained to Space Marines and boarding actions and run attacks, the Nicor may re-roll the dice on any boarding action or hit and run attack it makes. The second result applies even if worse than the first. So this is actually a really cool roll. This is a really cool rule, making it a very, very good ship to board with. Now, what's the problem with this vessel? It is undercosted. This vessel at 305 points. I mean, that's expensive for a Grand Cruiser, but it's still too cheap. Why? Principally, 5 shields, 6-up armor. Okay? This thing is insanely hard to hit. It's 25 centimeter speed. It is the fastest Grand Cruiser in the game. Alright? It has launch bays. Okay? So, the Exorcist is 230 points, and the Retaliator is 260. But this thing has a combination of torpedoes and launch bays, which will make it more expensive, and it's virtually unkillable. This thing is going to have to be effectively battleship grade point cost. At 305, it's on the low end. It needs to be more expensive. This vessel is, roughly speaking, the same cost as a Desolator battleship, and this is better than a Desolator battleship. Plain and simple. I'm going to say this has to be 350 points, maybe 375. That's on the high end. I would be happier at 350. But this thing is nuts. It is very, very strong. It is very, very fast. It is undercosted. Now, the crowning achievement of absolute awful in this game. The Raptorus Rex. Everyone knows about the Raptorus Rex from the lore, and how it's effectively the Great Wharf of the Imperial Fists. Or at least first served as the Firehawks. Still. Okay. let's have a look at this. It's a 20-hit battleship. It has 10 centimeter speed. That right there should make everyone that has played this game cringe. It literally cannot go fast enough to move to turn as a battleship. Turns 45 degrees, 5 up shields, 5 up armor, and 8 turrets. 8 turrets! This thing is immune to bombers. And it will, 8 turrets. I want everyone just to let that one sink in. Okay. It is effectively immune to bombers. You'll have to have a lot. Basically, in a block of 8 bombers, you'll have to have like 7 fighters and 1 bomber just to use for turret suppression. Weapons. Weapons batteries, 60 centimeter front, left, right, firepower, 15. It has a 30 centimeter front-facing bombardment cannon at strength 12. It has a strength 10 prow torpedo out the front. It has port and starboard torpedoes, left and right, and a prow launch bay at strength 4 for Thunderhawks. Let's have a look at its rules. Leviathan of Iron, a truly immense and ancient vessel believed to be pre-imperial in origin. The Raptorus Rex is able to withstand tremendous amount of punishment. No shit. Whenever it suffers a point of damage and penetrates the shields, roll a d6. On a 5 or a 6, it is ignored, so it has a 5 or a 5 up invul. In addition, it does not run out of ordnance. Okay, the fact that this is here shows you how little the people understood the rules of this game. But it also has +1 to its defense in rolls against boarding attacks. So boarding it is not easy. Special orders. Owing to the bulk and the huge mass, even the massive engines that power the Raptorus Rex cannot readily change its course or speed in combat conditions. As a result, the Raptorus Rex cannot use Cumden heading or burn retros. That's right, it cannot burn retros. Rain of Fire. The Raptorus Rex's most dreadful reputation is the burner of worlds. It's all studded with scores of orbital bomb racks, enabling it to seed a planet's atmosphere with clusters of thermic bombs. When conducting an exterminatus attack in the relevant scenario, the ship requires no modification. Season carry an exterminatus of 2 or more. Now, here's the problem. Because you can't burn retros on this vessel, and because it has speed 10 centimeters, it can't turn at all. You have to go 15 centimeters to turn. You can't turn with this thing. It's going to just go in a straight line across the board. Now, you could try to make the argument that it could maybe use the rules for the Orc Hulk, but it's not listed here. 10 centimeters. Now, you can, I believe, I may be wrong about this, this is pretty complicated, but you can go 10 centimeters, and then in the next round, go 5 and turn, make it basically count as 15. I'm not entirely sure if that is the case here, but at 10 centimeters, by the basic rules of the game, this thing cannot turn. It just flies in a straight line forward. And because it can't burn retros, it can't not move. So if you're playing a game where there's an exterminatus situation, you may end up crashing it into the freaking planet, or just flying off the edge of the table. This is a terribly designed vessel. It doesn't work. It just, goes across the board, making it effectively useless. So, again, I think if my memory serves me right, you may be able to turn it once every other round. Again, going 10 centimeters, one round, then 5 more in the next one, and then turning. I may be wrong about that, because that's a pretty esoteric rule that almost never emerges. And given that if you shoot a battleship with 15 centimeter speed, it can't turn until it is off the blast marker. So I would say no, it can't turn at all. Again, an example of absolutely terrible writing. Now, if I'm wrong about that turning rule, by all means, mention that in the comments below. Again, very esoteric rule, almost never used. And it doesn't move like a Hulk, so you can't do all ahead full, move it, and then give it a new bearing. Because it's not a Hulk, it doesn't follow the Hulk rules. So, it's useless. So now, we're going to go up to the actual fleet list. Excuse me. Now, we'll do this one at a time. We have the Maelstrom Zone Loyalist Fleet. Here are your commander options. A Fleet Admiral at Leadership 8 for 50 points, a Space Marine Master of the Fleet at 75, both start with a single reroll, and may purchase up to 2 extra rerolls for 50 and 25. So that's pretty cheap. What can you take? And this is where things get stupid. You can have a Retribution battleship. You can have any other Imperial Navy battleship of any type. You can take up to 5 Space Marine battle barges. You can take the Reptaurus Rex. You can take any battle barge or the Reptaurus Rex. They may take a Terminator boarding party. So basically, this is everything you could ever frickin' want in a Imperial Navy fleet, because you can have any Imperial battleship. You can take a Retribution. So you can take up to 5 Space Marine battle barges in the Reptaurus Rex. There's no reason not to. Grand cruisers and battle cruisers. You may take 0 to 2 grand cruisers of any type. Any 0 to 3 Imperial Navy battle cruisers of any type. There's no restrictions whatsoever. The Nicor can be taken. That can also bring a Terminator boarding party. Cruisers, any number of 10 of any Imperial cruiser or light cruiser. There's no restriction. Dominators for days, boys. Up to 10 strike cruisers, up to 4 Vanguard cruisers, and up to 2 AdMech cruisers or light cruisers. It's just, you can take anything. Any number of Imperial or Space Marine escorts of any type. It's just... This fleet has no weaknesses, and it has nothing but strengths. There's no reason... This is basically the ultimate Imperial list, and because of that, it's a terrible list. It has nothing about it will allow you to have an advantage over it or be able to discern a weakness. Now, people may be like, but what about Segmentum Solar? It can take very similar rules. Right. That fleet list had separation between the fleets. This one does not. You can just take the Space Marine Master of the Fleet, and it's fine, because there's no rules stating you can't. Now, if you want to continue with the rules from Segmentum Solar, okay, that's fine. You can assume that it works under those rules, but your ship restrictions don't effectively exist, because you can take from any, and I do mean this, you can take from any of the Imperial Navy fleets, and there's no restrictions on your grand cruisers and battle cruisers at all. You can just take them. You don't have to take a minimum number of cruisers. So, I mean, why not just take 2 Mars and a couple of Exorcists? Why not just take like 3 Armageddons or, 3 Overlords and the Nicor? Nothing's stopping you. Now, the Maelstrom's Unsuccessionist Fleet. This is the Chaos one. Successionist Commander at 60 points. God, these fucking point costs. Leadership 9 at 60 points. It should be 50. Yes, I know. The Imperial Navy one is LD8 and 50. This should still be cheaper because it's... Or make it 75 and give them something special. Don't give me these bullshit, weird point values. Okay, Space Marine Master of the Fleet at 75 points. It's identical. You have 1 or 2 extra reroll. Tyrant's Flag. 1 battle barge in the fleet may carry the Tyrant himself. In this case, this ship, and that ship only gets 1 free reroll per game. Turn and begins with leadership 10. So you get Abaddon, effectively. You get a mini Abaddon. Capital ships, you can up to 3 Marine battle barges. No restrictions, just take 3 battle barges. Enjoy. You can have Terminator boarding party, grand cruisers, and battle cruisers. You can have 1 Imperial Navy grand cruiser of any type, 4 Imperial Navy battle cruisers of any type, a Rogue Trader cruiser, weird, a Cardinal class heavy cruiser, a Chaos Acheron heavy cruiser, the Night Hag, cruisers up to 6 Imperial Navy cruisers or light cruisers, 0 to 10 Space Marine strike cruisers, and 4 Marine Vanguard cruisers. Your escort, any number of Imperial Navy, any number of Space Marine, 0 to 4 Rogue Trader escorts, up to 5 Infidel Raiders, and armed freighters. Again, there are no restrictions here. I can just take 3 battle barges. Why not? I can stick to Imperial, these grand cruisers and battle cruisers. There are no restrictions whatsoever. So, again, these fleet lists are full. These fleet lists have no restrictions. They're just take stuff, enjoy, screw any sort of semblance of balance. It's pretty awful. So, on that note, everybody, that is the Badab War Battlefleet Gothic supplement. It is very, very bad. There's a reason why this is universally panned. There is one little thing that I did notice. This is the Reptaurus Rex. I didn't actually realize it the first time I looked at the book, but That's a different model from a standard Ramillies. That has a giant front-facing portion. These gun bays are in different positions. This may have actually been a mini that they were going to release at some point for the Raptorus Rex, and never did. And that kind of makes me sad, because I would absolutely have this model, even if it looks freaking dumb. That's actually kind of the charm of it. But anyway, everybody, that is the Badab War. This hurt me far more than it hurt you. I mean, if you want to use these in your lists, by all means, some of these aren't bad. They're all very undercosted, especially these named vessels. This thing can't even be used appropriately. Talk to your opponent and make sure it's okay with them first. All right? I would... If I have somebody come to me and say, hey, I'm using the Nicor from the Badab War, I would look at them and go, okay, and then I would blow it the hell up with every Nova cannon that I had, simply on the basis of it's the only effective way of killing this stupid thing. Just get permission from your opponent first. These are very poorly designed vessels. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope after this nightmare that you'll continue to watch my videos.